I've been getting this question a lot lately because marketing budgets are getting slashed. What's the question, you ask? How do I get more ROI from content marketing? This week, I'm sharing the audio from a webinar I recently hosted where I gave you actual numbers on how content marketing has impacted my clients' revenue and reach, plus what strategies I use to drive those results. If you want to watch the webinar, download the slides, and grab resources, you can go to tinymarketing.me/webinar. Grab your notebook because you'll want to take notes on what's coming up next. Hello and welcome to Tiny Marketing. I'm Sarah Noah Block and I teach small marketing departments that are tired of feeling overwhelmed and under-resourced how to build and manage effective and efficient marketing strategies that work for them. Get ready, it's time to dig in and get a big impact with your tiny team. Thank you so much for joining me. I know that this was super spontaneous webinar, and I really appreciate anyone who is joining live right now. And I know a lot of you are planning to watch the replay, so hi from the past. This is past Sarah. Today, I am going to go over my 5 ways to improve your content marketing ROI. And let me just tell you the quick origin story of this webinar. I was driving in my car last week, which is why it's super spontaneous. And I started thinking about the questions that I've been getting a lot lately. And most of it has been around, well, the recession and budgets are being cut. And a lot of marketing departments are trying to figure out how to work out their budgets for 2023. And they're trying to see what makes sense for content, like should they be keeping content marketing for next year? So I decided to put this together, and I'm using this strategy that has worked for me and my clients, and I'm sharing some actual real numbers with you today so you can get an idea of how it all works, and I lay it all out for you. I'm going to pull up a poll right now because I want to know, what is your biggest struggle in content marketing? You guys work on this poll, and I'm going to pull up my slide deck. Okay, first, I'm going to go over my client results. Before we even get into the agenda, I'm going to tell you exactly why you should stick around for this webinar in the first place. So this is one particular client that I just grabbed their report. It was random, to be honest. So I was doing their content marketing, and this is the results I was seeing. So their 75.6% of their blog traffic came from search engines. We were really able to increase their search engine results and get them to rank high in Google. 18% of their goal conversions, their leads, came from LinkedIn content that we created. And we're also going to talk about how you can get leads from LinkedIn in this. We increased their social media, I say we, it was me, social media followers by 50% in 6 months. And we earned 11, somewhere between, over the course of the 6 months that this report was built, somewhere between 11% and 32% over a benchmark for email open rates. And all of this is what we'll be talking about, like my strategy for making these results happen in this webinar. But next, let's talk about the math. How does this equate to more revenue? How does this give you an investment? So we're going to do some math, and I hate math and I'm doing it for you. So, oh, look at that. Content production won by like a long shot. And feel free to chat me. The chat is set right now. Oh, thank you, Krissa. You can hear me loud and clear. The chat is set to private, so everything that you send goes directly to me. So you can just ask away and you know that it's completely private. All right, so the math, we're going back to that. They averaged 105 leads per month during the time that we were working together. I don't have access to their revenue, so we're going to use conservative, educated guessing on their math. Let's say they closed only 10% of those leads that came through. That's super conservative. If anybody on here is in sales, then you know that it's probably higher than that, but we're just going to say 10%. And their contracts are fairly high. So let's say the average contract was $10,000. And these are 105 leads that came in through content marketing. We are able to attribute them to content marketing, just to be clear. That equates to about 1.26 million in sales per year. Now, I thought maybe someone might have a question, but what is the profit on that? Like, how much did they spend on content marketing? So they spent $30,000 on content marketing. So I did a calculation right before, and it's 1.23 million was profit from their content marketing. So this is why content marketing needs to stay into the budget in 2023. And I'm going to show you how I help them get to that level. We're going to do the magic 5, the agenda. It's my fancy way of saying an agenda. So these are the 5 things that that is a lot of profit. Thank you. These are the 5 things that I always make sure are included in any content marketing plan. So 1, identify what content matters to your audience. And I'm going to tell you how to do that. All of this, I'm going to tell you how to do that. 2, write content that people actually want to read. There is a strategy to this. 3, increase engagement with content. 4, optimize your content production to reduce cost and time. So we're not only talking about the creation that you need to have. So I saw in the poll that content production is your biggest issue. And I get that. It is a lot of work, but we're going to talk about how to streamline that a bit. And that's going to reduce your time. It's going to reduce your costs when you have a really good operations around your content. And last, how to increase your leads through content marketing. How do you get those leads to convert? You can get all the traffic in the world, but if they're not submitting a form, it's nice, it's impressions, it's brand awareness, but you need to make money. Okay, so how does this increase your return on investment? More impressions, more leads, more engagement, less time creating content. We're going to talk a lot about operations here. Less time managing your content processes. For anybody on this call, and I looked at the reports before this, we have about 50% business owners, 50% that are people who do content marketing for a living. So you know that the process is long. It takes a lot of steps, and there's a lot of different resources that you need involved in it. Then the cost on external and internal resources and talent will go down when you have the operations process nailed. All right, let's go into number 1 first. How do you figure out what content matters to your audience? I'm going to give you the top, this is a 30-minute webinar, so I can't give you everything, but I'm going to give you the top ways to find it fast. 1, what is your audience reacting to now? Look at your social media analytics. Every social media platform has an analytics version of it. You do have access to it, whether it be Twitter or LinkedIn, so you can see exactly what content people are reacting to. I use a tool called SmarterQ for social media automation, and they give you really robust reports. So you can go even deeper with this, where I manage my client social media automation, so I can know what topics are getting the most comments, what topics are getting the most impressions. So consider SmarterQ for your social media. Look at your email analytics, your website analytics. What's the most popular content on your website right now? Look at those big blogs. What sections can be taken and turned into another piece of content? Whether you are primarily doing video, podcasts, or blogs, whatever it may be, you can convert it. You can take sections of it and turn it into more. And Google advice for you. Make sure to interlink them, because they are interlinks, internal links through your website. They matter as much to Google as backlinks do from external websites. So don't miss out on that. That's easy SEO juice. And then go to your Google Search Console and see what keywords are being used to find you currently. So this is a snapshot from mine. So you can see right here, quarterly marketing plan is pretty high on the list, and that's not a service I was offering. So I started looking deeper into this, and I was like, okay, this is more content that I should be creating. I have really long, robust pillar pages around quarterly marketing planning. And now I know that I should build out more content around that. What are related questions that people might have about that? And this is something I talked about on LinkedIn the other day. Should I be adding a quarterly marketing plan service to my business? which I did. But maybe we should be listening to our customer and starting to identify what services are they raising their hand for? What do they need me for? Kind of a reverse engineering on your services. Google your main pillars. This is my favorite thing to do, and it's the first thing that I do after digging into analytics and knowing, because that gives you exact information about what people care about. Next, go to Google, your BFF, and start searching your own pillars. And go to this people also ask section. Go to related searches. It will give you a ton of free content ideas. And yes, I picked this specific one because I got in the SERP. That's me right there, Sarah Noel Block in the SERP. But my very favorite thing to do is look at those related searches, look at people also ask. And you know how you go to Google and you start entering a question and then it auto-populates? Those auto-populated answers that Google suggests, those are a great place also to look at content ideas. Begin tracking customer questions and prospect questions. So one thing, this advice that I got from another salesperson actually, when I was on their podcast, is they record all of their sales calls and they have the marketing department listen to them, note down questions that they're getting asked. I was at Content Marketing World a couple weeks ago, and one of the things that they said with this is don't just write content about the frequently asked questions. Those are the ones that the gatekeepers are asking. Maybe like the marketing coordinator is asking those questions because it's just, a checklist item. But what you want is those rarely asked questions because those are the ones that the CEO is asking. So keep an eye out for those rarely asked questions that you're getting because they are a great resource. Next, you want to write content that people want to read. I love writing. I have told people a million times that it's oxygen to me, writing. And these are the 5 puzzle pieces that I insist are in every piece of content. Okay, you need to start with a hook. A good hook is a personal story, a case study results, or influencer quotes. Something that will draw the audience in and make them read that next sentence. A lot of times, they're just looking at that first paragraph to see if it's worth continuing. So make sure that is the best part of your article. While we're talking about this, let's talk about headlines for 1 second and titles. You don't want to hide the lead. If you have, let's say, a report that you're writing a blog about, you want to have like the most astounding information right in that title to pull people in immediately. It's content marketing. You want to just lay it all out there for them so they know, okay, this is for me. I want to know this information. All right, next. Include influencers. You might be like, I don't know any influencers. Or you might think Kim Kardashian's an influencer. That's not what I'm talking about at all when I talk about influencers. I'm talking about subject matter experts. I'm talking about people within your specific niche and pull them into your articles. You could do that through resources like Haro, help a B2B writer out. And for anybody on this right now who has ever tried to use Haro and you are blocked because your website doesn't get enough traffic, help a B2B writer out doesn't have that gate. So you can get those quotes without having, a website as popular as Facebook or whatever. You can also pull in influencers from LinkedIn, Twitter, write like a teacher. Use examples and a lot of them because people are coming to you to learn from you. Content marketing is all about know, like, and trust. They need to know who you are through your content. They need to like you, so show your personality. Don't try and be a corporate drone. Have your own personality. And I'll talk about this later, but I have a content marketing program where we're going to go into content strategy and how to build that brand personality. Okay, examples. Write in clear language. We're thinking like a teacher. You want to make sure that every type of person can read your content. Now, I work with a lot of complicated businesses and industries that might be talking about like mechanical engineering and concepts that are hard for people to understand. But even those experts appreciate when it's in a clear language. Kind of go with the rule of, would a 5-year-old understand this? Obviously, a 5-year-old is not going to understand it, but use the language that a 5-year-old would understand. You don't need the jargon. And consider all learning styles when you're building out your content marketing. So I like to make sure that I have audio, visual, and written content available for everyone. So when you're repurpose in those different ways. I like to use video as my main core piece of content because it's really easy to repurpose. You can take that video, write blogs on the different topics that you talked about in it, take the WAV file from the video and make a podcast out of it. It's a lot easier to repurpose with a video. But you can even repurpose a LinkedIn post. Let's say you had a LinkedIn post that did so well, got a ton of engagement, so many comments. What was that topic on? You know that people are interested in it. You can build it out into a full article. In the end, you want to close the loop. So that means you opened a loop with the hook. You opened it up with a question that needed to be answered. In the end, you've solved that question. You've answered it. And you need to be able to close the loop and bring it full circle. So come back to that hook. Make sure that you're mentioning whatever it was that was in the hook. And conclude with, okay, this is the answer to this question that I have decided to answer in this blog. And then end with a CTA. What do you want your audience to do next? Always have a CTA, whether it's something small like a newsletter sign up, or if it's something big like you have a webinar. We'll go super meta here. And you have a webinar coming up that you want them to sign up for. Make sure that you have a CTA so every piece of content has a place to go. You're sending your audience on their way. 3, increase engagement with your content. So how do you do that? Let's go back to 2 for a second. We know that we need to bring influencers into our content to give it more power. And when you're doing that, you're also going to be increasing engagement. You want to loop them back into your content when you start in the distribution phase. So you can do this even with, you haven't done Haro or Ask a B2B Writer or interviewing someone. You can loop influencers in by embedding their LinkedIn posts, embedding a Twitter thread, or using some comments from a social media post that you like. We'll go back again. Call back to having a LinkedIn post that did really well and how you can build an article out from that. Take the comments from that LinkedIn post and pull it into the article. Now loop the influencer in when you're distributing it and let them know they were mentioned, they got a backlink from it, yay, and they are more likely to share it. They could backlink it on their website. At the very least, you'll get a social media mention, if not having it sent out to their email list. And, if they're an influencer, it's probably pretty high. Next, interview subject matter experts for your content. So this could be internal subject matter experts. Like, let's go back to a mechanical engineering company. And you have some brilliant engineers that have information in their head that they probably don't communicate very often on. They would be great to talk about this on Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever, but maybe they don't want to. Interview them and have your content, surrounding them. Highlight your internal subject matter experts. And it really helps with sales in the end because these people will eventually be customer facing or known to the customer, and you've built trust for them. You've built authority for them by bringing them into the content. And last on this one, always distribute your content with a minimum of 1 email and 3 social media posts. There's a long list of things that you should be doing with distribution. In fact, with all of my clients, I have like a very robust checklist of distribution. But for this, I'm just going to say the minimum. 1 email, 3 social media posts. You can repurpose what you've already created using for your social media. Like, let's say that core piece of content Thank you, Timothy, Lydia, Krista. Let's say that core piece of content was a video. You can repurpose that into little text graphics with quotes from the video. You can turn them into reels and TikToks. There's a million things you could do. Repurposing, it's what gets you the ROI because you get a lot more from that one piece of content. You don't need to create a lot. Okay, 4. I feel like I'm talking super fast, but we only have 30 minutes, so I am talking super fast. I'm sorry. Optimize your content production by reducing your cost and time. All right, this is a huge topic that has a big impact on your bottom line for content marketing. Streamline those processes. I just wrote a long article for a client on this very topic. So choose a project management tool like Teamwork, that's what I use, to track project progress and assign and communicate your resources. So in these project management tools, you can have your internal and external talent, your freelancers and your internal team on the same thing. So communication is so much easier. Plus, a huge problem that a lot of companies have is they have private drives where all of the resources are stored and only internal people with certain email addresses can access them. And then it takes a whole slew of work to get any freelancers access to it. Well, you can store some of those resources for that specific project in Teamwork. So everything is together and it makes it a lot easier. Plan your content in bulk. So this goes back to repurposing. Pick a core content piece. Look at how it can be repurposed. Build out the repurposing plan from inception. So I do this while I'm creating the creative brief. That was a lot of create in one sentence. So while I'm developing the creative brief, I create a repurposing plan. What are the other ways we can use this? How long will this feed my marketing? So I've said this on about 1 million podcasts, but my one interview that I conduct for my YouTube show and podcast lasts me about 3 months. I break it down into 3 different videos. That can be broken down into 3 different podcasts. And that can be broken down into at least 3 blogs. And that's a whole lot of content from one interview. Feeds 3 months. You get a ton of emails out of that. You get a ton of social media posts around it. And it doesn't look like the same thing. A lot of fear that people have around repurposing is that it'll sound like you're saying the same exact thing over and over again. But repurposing done right, it's not that. It's completely different content, but it's all from the same source, that core piece of content. Okay. Automate, batch, and create processes around everything. So look at your systems that you have in place and kind of from a bird's eye view, what pieces of that process can be automated? What can you do all at one time? And create those processes around that and build them into your project management tool. It'll take a minute to do, but you'll thank me. And then last, when you're deciding what should be outsourced or delegated, look at the Eisenhower matrix. So let's say you looked at all your processes. These are the tasks that I need to do for every content marketing piece. Put them in each box as they would go. Urgent and important, not important, urgent, blah, 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 blah. Anything that is in that bottom left quadrant, those are the ones that you should be outsourcing or sending along to an underling to be able to take care of. Last magic quadrant, 5, increase your leads through content marketing. Okay, so look at what your most popular content is. You've already done this in step 1. You know what content is popular. You went on your Google Analytics, you went on your Search Console. Now the next step is updating that content to make sure that it's ready for leads. So does that content need to be more robust? Can you add additional elements to it to reduce the bounce rate? Could you add a podcast to it, a video? Consider doing some of those things and update the date on it. Google loves old content that has been updated. And then add a lead generator to it. So if you have something like, for example, mine, that I had the visual case study that is doing really well on Google. what lead generator would make sense for that? Should I create something where they can download a template so they can do a visual case study themselves? Just make sure to gate it so you can get those leads from it. You can do lead generation through your social media content too. So here are some action steps. Create events on LinkedIn that require registration. Partner with other subject matter experts on webinars so you guys can share the leads. That is probably my biggest lead generator, is partnering with other subject matter experts on webinars. Pin your lead generator in your social media feed. So let's think of like Twitter, you can pin a tweet. Make sure that one's the lead generator. In LinkedIn, you have those highlighted post sections at the top of your LinkedIn profile. That's where you want to pin your lead generator. And then link to your lead generator in your social media profile as, right at the top. So it's easy to find, and it's one of the first things that people see. Okay, how do you convert them? So you got these leads, what next? You can consider sending a personalized video like Bonjoro, where you can start that conversation in a more personal way and build a relationship with them. Don't let them go cold. Once they've entered your list, they're expecting to hear from you. They intentionally want to hear from you. So create a welcome email series. I just want to let you guys know at the end of this, I'm going to share my slides. Create a drip email campaign that's a mix of nurture and sales. I like to do 3 nurture emails to every 1 sales email, so they get a mix of it. And make it super easy to work with you. So take away any friction that they might have in working with you. Have a clear CTA on those emails so they know how to schedule a discovery call or whatever your next steps are. Make it easy. Okay, so these are your action steps. Look at your analytics and identify the sales questions that people are getting asked most, and use your BFF Google. Don't rush through your content creation. You want to make sure that you have every one of those puzzle pieces in your content. Create a system for your content production. Make promotion part of that content creation process. I do it all at once, so there's no room for error there. Bring in the influencers and subject matter experts into your content so they're part of your distribution process. And prepare an email sequence so it's automatically following up on those leads. Okay. So before you go, I am going to share out a few things. One, I have a course that's coming out. You might want to consider it. It is a content marketing program. Module 1, I will be teaching you how to take all of those elements I just talked about to create better content. In Module 2, we're going to be going into content strategy. So for content strategy, it's going to be everything from creating these robust creative briefs to identifying your differentiator, your content differentiator, all of it. Module 3 will be how to build your business. So all of these modules will have a live and on-demand video class. So even if you can't attend live, you'll have the on-demand version afterwards. You'll get templates, PDFs, resources. You're going to have homework. And if you're worried about time on homework, you can use the content that you're creating for work as your homework. And I'll review it personally and give you a personal critique on each one. And we'll have monthly office hours. So the program is 12 weeks. And right now, I am offering all 3 modules, which will be separate classes in the future, for the price of 1. So it's going to be $2,500 for the whole program. But right now, it's only $9.95 for all 3 courses. It's in beta mode, and I think that it's going to be really good. I'm kind of giving it away, but I'm excited to provide that for you. So I hope you'll take a look, and I have the sales page right there in the announcements. So the first 10 people get it for $9.95. It's limited. And if you have any questions, please put it in the chat. I'm going to share my slide deck with you right now as a handout so you can take it and reference it later. Sharing now. Okay, so anybody who wants that, go ahead and download it. Anybody who wants the $9.95 course offer, you have that. The first 10 people get that. And if you want more content from me, you can follow me along on my blog, YouTube channel, or podcast. It's the Tiny Marketing Show. Krissa is actually on this webinar right now, and she's my manager. If anybody is looking for a podcast manager, she's amazing. And yeah, chat me if you have any questions, if there's anything I'm missing. Thank you, Lydia. Okay. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for joining me. As a reminder, you can watch the full webinar and grab the resources at tinymarketing.me/webinar, which is also in the show notes. Remember to follow, rate, and review, and share this podcast with your family and friends. Your shares and recs make a big difference for this little pod. See you next time. Hello, and thank you for joining Tiny Marketing. I help tiny marketing departments create consistent content that builds trust with their audience. Book Done For You Content Marketing at sarahnoelblog.com. Don't forget to follow, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite podcast app. See you next time, friends.